1 inch.
Hey guys, this is me, Noah, back doing another deck profile for Team 1 Inch. This time I wanted to deck profile budget GKs. For everybody who knows, it's a stun deck. I played the deck for 4 formats straight a little while ago. I played it back when it was a relatively expensive deck. I played a Malefic version, I played the Monarch version, and then I tried to play 2 straight GK versions. So without further ado, I'm going to go straight into it. You've got your 3 commandant obvious. Gets your Necro Valleys, 21 under Necro Valley. Spy sets up a lot of plays, usually your first turn play, also 25 under Necro Valley, really good. 2 Descendant, pop stuff, usually use him in combination with Recruiter. You play 2 Recruiter in this variant because there's less targets than in the modern versions, and you don't really need it. It's really, really good. It's you don't need 3. I'll explain that at the end. For the ones of 1 guard, 1 assailant, 1 nobleman, 1 shaman, 1 blizzard princess. Blizzard Princess is a tech. Shout out to teammate Jonathan. A lot of you guys will know him from the Fire King and Evol deck profile. But I was looking through his binder. I was originally playing this. I was playing Caius instead of this. And I was looking through his binder, and we saw this card, and we laughed about it, made a bunch of ice barrier jokes, and then we actually read it. So for everybody who doesn't know, you can tribute 1 spellcaster monster to tribute summon this properly. And when it's tribute summoned properly, your opponent can't activate spells or traps. So it's like a cold wave on wheels, which makes any card really good. I chose to play guard because guard, a lot of people expect you to set spy, but if you set guard and they attack into it, it bounces monsters back. He's 24 under Necro Valley, so he's really, really good. And you play 2 Recruiter in this variant because there's a lot less Gravekeeper targets, and you usually get really cloggy hands, and having double Recruiter in hand is not a great feeling. I usually like to special it off as spy. But that's it for monsters. For spells, 3 Necro Valley. That's your only 3s of spell. This card essentially stuns it. It's the only reason why this deck is even playable. If this deck did not have Necro Valley, I don't think it would even, nobody would look at it. 2 Wonder Wand. And then for my text for this deck, it's 2 powers. I'm going to explain that at the end when I'm explaining spells. And then for your spells, we've got 1 book, 1 lance, 1 hidden temples of Necro Valley, 1 stealth, 1 MST, 1 duality, and 1 dark hole. For the spells, I wanted to explain power. The only issue with this deck was there was essentially nothing that you could do that would put a lot of damage on the board in 1 turn. So I chose power, and this power searches out the other power, so it makes it so you get to a lot of your cards really fast, and that is important in a deck like this. The 1 duality, because you usually do like the specials, you will get the spy flip on your turn most of the time. 1 of these, because you do like to add back commandants if you're not getting the Necro Valleys. And you do like to add back recruiters, but other than that, I didn't feel like there was a need for it. There's no Royal Tribute in this deck because you will always have a hand of monsters, and drawing it late game is really bad. Drawing it mid game is bad, and it doesn't hurt enough of the meta for me to consistently want to play it. But now I'm gonna go into traps. 2 goes in match, 2 T-Roar, and 2 trap stun. That's it for traps. The goes in match, it was attack. I did the same thing in my Black Wings. There'll be a link down to that video. The trap stuns are really good because it makes sure that you get the Descendant pops, and you know what you're getting at. The T-Roar, so you can always get the spy flip. And the goes in match because when you play in this meta, hands are really good and they're mixing them with a lot of decks. And dragons are also still a deck and they're being mixed with a lot of stuff. So it's very important that you hit all of them. Next, for ones of traps, we've got your Mirror Force, you got your Rite of Spirit, you got your Compose, your Torrential, your Force Back, your Tombs, your Bottomless. Uh, I have never successfully gotten off tunes. I have successfully gotten off tunes once in this deck, and it was the only reason I won the game. So that's why it's in here. You never have Tomb and a Gravekeeper and Necro Valley on the field at the same time, and if you are, you're winning, or you're about to win. So like you don't even need it. The Rite of Spirit, so you can always bring back Shaman. Shaman is a very, very, very key player in this deck. And the Force Back, because I was looking for a trapped attack. And Force Back actually wins most of the games. It sets up a lot of plays. For people who don't know, it's negate the normal summon or the flip summon of a monster and return it to the hand. That's it for the main deck. For the extra deck, you don't really need anything like super special. I did want to mention a couple of cards. You can play the Fortune Tune. I know it's kind of contradictory because you can put it back in a deck, but I still think this is 10 times better than Zen Mains. Your Tempo, Poor Man's Dweller. Poor Man's Dweller. This card's really, really, really nasty. We were talking about this a couple of days ago on a couple of forums and pages, and this card will be seeing play again. If you can, I'd suggest picking it up. The Utopia, all just like standard stuff. And the Cowboy, the Key Beetle, and the Maestro. Those are all just like basic stuff that you should be playing. And for the side deck, we've got Prohibition. Prohibition's also really good in this deck because they can't use their graveyard, so that does hit a lot of the meta. And if you call the MST, game 2 you essentially win. Two of the Soul Takers. There's a lot of monsters that you can't get over in this deck, even with like the whole Wonder Wand and like Wizard Princess thing. Overworked for Fire Kings and for other decks. This also hurts Madolches. 2 Mind Drain because I don't activate effects from hand except Commandant. 1 Nobleman of Crossout. 1 Soul Release. 1 Defissure. 1 Drastic Drop-Off. Drastic Drop-Off is actually really good in this because when your opponent thinks they're going to get a plus, if you Drastic Drop-Off really early in the game, they'll essentially want to scoop, and it makes a lot of cards harder to get back. Fiendish Chain and Soul Drain. Normally you don't have to side in this deck. This deck is really like super fast. I'm gonna give MVP to this deck for Shaman. Shaman is the Soul Drain, protects Necro Valley, and gains 200 defense for every Gravekeeper in the graveyard. So it makes him very, very, very important to play. You can get Nobleman. You can get Nobleman face down, and they'll attack in a Nobleman thinking it's a spy or a guard, and you get this. And a lot of times your opponent just don't have the response they need, and when they get to it, I've already got advantage, so they lose. There's nothing else really left to say. I did like the trap lineup. So if you're looking for a budget deck to play, this is essentially really budget. A lot of the stuff in the deck went down in price. I did have a maxed out version of the deck, but I did not like it. I did trade away a lot of the stuff. I chose to go with this version because I took the basic outline of the deck and I cut cards where I didn't feel like it was coming into contact and I was making all of the right plays. And that's what you want to do. It's not about just like having a card in case of an emergency. It's about getting consistency and making sure you're comfortable with like the play that you're making and you're really ready to win. So this has been Noah from Team 1 and signing out.